Chaos is not a sign that you're failing. Chaos is a signal that you are on the edge of transformation, standing at a bifurcation point, a moment in which the universe forces a choice, and your consciousness determines which path unfolds. Everything you've ever wanted, every breakthrough, every shift, emerges through this invisible gateway. If life feels unpredictable, overwhelming, or turbulent right now, you are exactly where you need to be. The storm is not your enemy. It is the midwife of your evolution. Most people fear chaos. They interpret sudden disruption, unexpected loss, or inner turmoil as a sign that something is wrong. But physics, biology, and consciousness studies suggest otherwise. In nonlinear systems, systems that mirror human life, bifurcation points are where trajectories split. A river of potential suddenly branches. A star collapses into new form. A mind pushed to its limits either fractures or transcends. Chaos is the signal that equilibrium is breaking, creating space for something higher. Even chaos has a pattern. Edward Lorenz, the father of chaos theory, discovered that weather systems and dynamic systems behave unpredictably, yet follow an underlying order, the famous butterfly effect. Tiny shifts in initial conditions create dramatically different outcomes. Your current life turbulence is the butterfly wing, nudging the trajectory of your consciousness in your reality. Chaos is not arbitrary. It is directional, signaling growth, recalibration, and a necessary shift toward coherence. From the perspective of consciousness, chaos often precedes breakthroughs because your habitual patterns can no longer contain your potential. Joe Dispenza calls these quantum moments, periods when old mental-emotional patterns dissolve, making space for higher possibility. Your nervous system is being stretched, your perception challenged, and your habitual storylines disrupted. The bifurcation point is where old identity fractures and new identity emerges. Mystics and ancient traditions have long recognized this principle. The alchemical process of transformation begins with the breaking apart of familiar structures, the dark night of the soul in spiritual traditions, or the dissolution of ego in Vedanta and Taoist texts. Chaos is the universal signal. You're being prepared for the next level of evolution, whether you recognize it consciously or not. But what does this look like in practical life? A sudden job loss, the end of a relationship, financial upheaval, or an unexpected health challenge can feel like disintegration. And it is, but only in the sense that old forms can no longer hold the life that is emerging. Every crisis carries a hidden invitation. Every breakdown is a gateway. What separates those who transform from those who collapse is how they engage with chaos. The first step is perception. Chaos is neither good nor bad, it is feedback. Observe your life as a system in flux. Notice recurring patterns, emotional triggers, and moments of intensity. These are the edges where transformation is occurring. By reframing chaos as a signal rather than a punishment, you begin to orient your attention toward possibility rather than fear. You become an observer of your own bifurcation point, capable of responding instead of reacting. Quantum physics mirrors this principle. At the quantum level, superposition allows particles to exist in multiple states simultaneously, until observation collapses possibility into a single reality. Human consciousness works similarly. At moments of chaos, infinite potential exists, but which path actualizes depends on where you place attention, emotion, and action. Chaos is the superposition of your life, waiting for alignment, focus, and coherent action to crystallize your next reality. Practical awareness begins with grounding. Amid turmoil, anchor in the present moment. Observe your breath, feel your body, and notice your mental-emotional landscape without judgment. Chaos loses its overwhelming grip when the nervous system stabilizes. You create a container capable of holding intensity without being swept away. This container is your observational field, where choice and transformation are possible. And yet, the story does not end with grounding. Chaos is an invitation to creative engagement. As old structures dissolve, new patterns emerge. This is the alchemy of the bifurcation point, the potential to reorganize your life around coherence, alignment, and higher purpose. By consciously navigating the turbulence, you not only survive, you accelerate your evolution. In the next part, we will explore the mechanisms behind the bifurcation point, showing how chaos interacts with consciousness, nervous system regulation, and perception. We will reveal practical tools to navigate turbulence without losing alignment, allowing disruption to catalyze growth rather than fear. Once you understand these mechanisms, the storms of life will no longer feel like threats. They will feel like signposts guiding you to your next level of expansion. Chaos is not random. Even when life feels unpredictable, the turbulence you experience is a reflection of a system in transition, a field of potential waiting for coherence to emerge. The bifurcation point is the hinge between what was and what could be. You are standing in the eye of transformation, where old patterns no longer hold and new possibilities are ready to crystallize. The question is, will you navigate this moment consciously, or will you be swept along by reactive forces? At the core of this process is the interaction between consciousness and the field of reality. Quantum physics teaches that observation collapses potential into measurable outcomes. When applied to life, this means that how you observe your chaos, your perception, emotional state, and attention determines which trajectory unfolds. The storm is not forcing you down a path. Your response shapes the path. Your nervous system becomes the lens through which potential is filtered into reality. Your body is the first feedback system. During turbulence, stress responses are natural. Adrenaline surges, cortisol spikes, and the sympathetic nervous system dominates. This is evolution's way of prompting action, but prolonged reactivity blocks insight and clarity. To navigate a bifurcation point effectively, you must first stabilize your internal system. Heart-centered breathing, grounding exercises, and mindful attention create a coherent observational field. In this state, chaos no longer overwhelms, it informs. You begin to see the edges where transformation is possible. The mind mirrors this process. Repeated thought patterns act like filters, either amplifying fear or amplifying insight. Joe Dispenza refers to these moments as quantum windows, times when habitual neural patterns dissolve and new possibilities can emerge. By intentionally observing your thoughts without attachment, you create space for higher-order patterns to appear. The bifurcation point is not just an external event. It is an internal one, a collapse of old cognitive structures and the emergence of expanded awareness. Interestingly, chaos often precedes breakthroughs in the body as well. Physiologically, stress disrupts habitual patterns, forcing adaptation. Muscles, energy systems, and the brain reorganize. This is why periods of intense life disruption often coincide with sudden clarity, insight, or creative bursts. The body is not reacting randomly. It is restructuring itself in alignment with higher potential. The turbulence is a catalyst, not an obstacle. Perception is the next layer. The way you frame chaos determines the trajectory of transformation. If you view disruption as punishment or failure, the nervous system tightens, cognitive flexibility decreases, and opportunities are filtered out. If you view it as a signal, a branching point, and an invitation to choose intentionally, your perception opens. You begin to notice patterns, synchronicities, and subtle guidance previously invisible. Chaos becomes a teacher, a guide, and a doorway. Practical engagement with chaos begins with micro-reflective practices. During moments of turbulence, pause and observe what is happening without judgment. Notice emotional reactions, bodily sensations, and thought patterns. Ask, where is the opportunity? What is the signal? This does not make the storm disappear, but it positions you as the observer of your own evolution, rather than a victim of circumstance. Journaling is another powerful tool. Write down disruptive events, your responses, and any intuitive insights. Over time, patterns emerge. What situations repeatedly trigger stress? Which actions restore coherence? Which choices consistently lead to clarity? This reflective process transforms chaos into a map of your growth, highlighting where you are ready to evolve and which parts of your identity are being challenged. Advanced practitioners take this further by combining observation with conscious intention. Once you've stabilized your nervous system, noted the patterns, and centered in clarity, begin to direct energy toward the outcomes you desire. Focus on coherence rather than control. The bifurcation point is not about forcing a result. It is about choosing where your attention collapses potential, allowing the field of possibilities to respond in alignment with your conscious signal. Emotion is the amplifier. Fear, frustration, and resistance distort perception and scatter energy. Awe, curiosity, calm, and trust strengthen coherence. As you move through chaos with presence and aligned feeling, you become a magnet for synchronicity, opportunity, and insight. Life begins to reflect the internal state, and what once felt like random disruption now appears orchestrated, a series of signposts guiding you to growth. Even relationships and collaboration follow this principle. When chaos arises between you and others, internal coherence determines external outcomes. A calm, observant presence allows tension to clarify hidden patterns, reveal new possibilities, and restore alignment. When you respond with clarity rather than reaction, you create space for mutual evolution, turning interpersonal chaos into a catalyst for growth and connection. The final component of navigating a bifurcation point is trust and timing. The universe does not always deliver solutions immediately. The storm may persist longer than expected, but each moment of presence and coherent observation strengthens your trajectory. Trust allows you to maintain alignment even when outcomes are delayed. By holding attention steadily at the point of turbulence, you collapse potential toward higher-order growth rather than being pulled into fear-driven reactive cycles. In Part 3, we will explore how to leverage bifurcation points for radical transformation, turning turbulence into accelerated evolution. We will reveal methods to navigate life's most intense chaos with clarity, amplify synchronicity, and co-create reality from the edge of uncertainty. Once you understand and embody these techniques, life's storms cease to feel threatening. They become launch pads for profound expansion. Chaos is no longer a threat once you understand it as the doorway to growth. The bifurcation point is the moment when old patterns fracture and infinite possibilities stand before you. How you respond determines which trajectory unfolds. At this stage, mastery is not about control. It is about presence, alignment, and conscious engagement. You become an active participant in your evolution, rather than a passive witness to turbulence. Begin by holding your attention intentionally. Observation collapses potential into reality, just as quantum physics demonstrates. During a bifurcation point, your thoughts, emotions, and focus act as the lens through which potential manifests. Calm awareness, paired with intentional observation, shapes outcomes. By noticing recurring themes, intuitive nudges, and subtle synchronicities, you gain guidance that others miss. Chaos becomes a map pointing to your next level. Integration of body, mind, and heart is essential. Heart-brain coherence stabilizes the nervous system, strengthens perception, and amplifies intuition. Each breath, heartbeat, and intentional movement becomes a signal of alignment to the universe. Stress and fear distort this signal, but presence and emotional clarity strengthen it. By grounding in your body while observing your life with conscious attention, the turbulence of chaos no longer overwhelms. Instead, it becomes the medium through which growth is accelerated. Action is the bridge between observation and manifestation. Once clarity emerges, take intentional steps toward the outcomes aligned with your highest potential. These steps do not have to be dramatic. Small, coherent actions ripple through the field, influencing circumstances far beyond immediate perception. Every choice made from alignment collapses possibility into a tangible trajectory, transforming chaos into progress, insight, and momentum. Reflection magnifies this effect. At the end of each day, pause to review the patterns, synchronicities, and outcomes of your engagement with turbulence. Celebrate moments of clarity, note shifts in perception, and refine your focus. This process transforms every chaotic experience into a learning system, a feedback loop for accelerated evolution. Over time, Navigating bifurcation points becomes instinctive. You anticipate opportunities and act from coherence rather than reaction. Relationships respond powerfully to this mastery. Internal coherence influences external dynamics. When tension arises, your presence and awareness reveal opportunities for connection, collaboration, and mutual growth. Chaos in interpersonal contexts becomes a catalyst for understanding, alignment, and deepened connection. By observing, responding, and acting from a coherent state, you transform disruption into a source of relational evolution. Creativity, intuition, and opportunity accelerate as well. Chaos often precedes breakthroughs because habitual patterns no longer constrain your potential. The mind, when freed from old limitations, generates insights, solutions, and ideas that previously seemed inaccessible. By consciously engaging with the bifurcation point, you harness this natural amplification, turning turbulence into a launchpad for innovation and expansion. The final layer is trust and surrender. Mastery does not mean forcing outcomes. The universe responds to alignment, observation, and coherent action, not desperation. Let go of rigid attachment, but maintain intentional engagement. Trust allows you to navigate uncertainty with grace, amplify synchronicity, and let life unfold in a way that aligns with your highest trajectory. The bifurcation point is not a trap, it is a portal to accelerated transformation. Practical embodiment involves daily routines. Begin each morning with grounding and reflection, centering in the heart and mind. Observe patterns, anticipate opportunities, and set intentions aligned with coherence. Throughout the day, respond to chaos with presence and aligned action. In the evening, reflect, celebrate alignment, and integrate insights. Over time, this creates a feedback loop of continuous evolution, where turbulence becomes a consistent signal of growth rather than a source of fear. Even seemingly small disruptions carry profound potential. A delayed meeting, a sudden conversation, or an unexpected obstacle may seem trivial, yet when observed consciously, these events reveal the trajectory of your growth. The bifurcation point exists at every scale, from massive life events to subtle daily choices. Recognizing the signal in both expands your ability to navigate life with mastery. By the end of this practice, you no longer perceive chaos as random or threatening. Instead, it is an accelerator, a teacher, and a guide, consistently pointing you toward your next level of evolution. The bifurcation point is the threshold where potential collapses into reality, and you hold the power to guide it consciously. Life storms no longer dictate your path, they illuminate it. And if this resonates, subscribing ensures you continue receiving tools, insights, and practices for navigating turbulence, amplifying coherence, and accelerating growth through chaos. Every video expands your mastery of observation, alignment, and manifestation. The universe responds not to fear, but to clarity. You are no longer at the mercy of chaos. You are the observer shaping the path forward. To close, remember, the bifurcation point is not a warning, it is an invitation. Chaos signals growth. Turbulence signals opportunity. Fracture signals transformation. When you observe consciously, align emotionally, and act coherently, life accelerates in your favor. Every challenge, disruption, or unexpected twist is a signal that your evolution is accelerating. Stand in the eye of the storm, trust the process, and watch as the universe responds to the observer it can hear most clearly. The turbulence you feared is, in fact, the launchpad for your most extraordinary breakthroughs.